Welcome everybody to Palace Off the Top Rope presents SmackDown. This is episode number 3 from September 2nd, 1999. It was held in Worcester, Massachusetts. I hope I'm saying that right. At least that's how the wrestlers said it while they were in the arena, so I guess I must be saying it right. We are on the road to WWE Unforgiven on pay-per-view, and let's kick off this show. The first match on this card is going to be Chyna versus Mr. Ass, or also known as Badass Billy Gunn, in a number 1 contenders match for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Now, we all know the drama that unfolded last week between Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett and Chyna and all of that going on. Well, anyways, that led to a matchup between Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett on Raw. Chyna at some point grabs a guitar and looks like she's going to, I don't know who it looks like she's going to hit with it, but ends up nailing Billy Gunn. And that's what leads us to this match. And we're going to find out who's going to face Jarrett at the pay-per-view. He shows up to ringside along with Deborah and Miss Kitty. The match hilariously starts with Chyna pulling down her drawers to moon Billy Gunn for no reason, and it's completely out of nowhere. Anyways, they have this match, and it's okay. It's nothing biggie. The big deal here is that Triple H, who is still associated with Chyna, even though they're going to kind of start to go their own separate ways here as we move further along in 99. She comes down to assist Chyna with the win. Pedigrees Badass Billy Gunn. Chyna pins Billy for the 1-2-3. She is now the number 1 contender for the Intercontinental Championship and will be facing Jeff Jarrett at Unforgiven. He looks not happy about this and didn't really appreciate Triple H interfering in the match and called it a travesty and all that stuff. And that's the end of that segment. We get a recap of Monday Night Raw where Mankind and Rock won the WWE Tag Team titles from The Big Show and The Undertaker. Now this leads us to a promo by The Big Show. He comes out. He's pretty much had it with Undertaker's tough love. He calls him out. This brings out Paul Bearer, who tries to, get Big Show to calm down. That doesn't work. The Big Show beats up on Paul Bearer, and finally we hear The Undertaker's music, and he makes his way down to the ring. Now, immediately, Undertaker goes up to the Big Show, and he whispers something to him. We don't know what it is, so we don't know what the hell's going on. This has got the Big Show kind of confused and not really know what to think. And Undertaker grabs the mic and finally says, kind of gives him props for, beating up on Paul Bearer. And I guess is kind of what he was wanting to see from the Big Show, a little bit more toughen up. And Undertaker threatens him again, and they leave together, and that's the end of that segment. Next up, we have Mankind, who is out for a promo. He's talking about how he's embarrassed on losing to Shane McMahon last week, but he promises that eventually, somewhere down the line, he's going to get revenge on Shane. So I like this. I like seeing the continuation there, and Shane and or at least Mankind being kind of not so much pissed, but he is like I said, he's embarrassed about losing to Shane, so he wants to get some retribution on that point. But he says he's not really out there to talk about that. He's here to kind of praise The Rock, and they're talking about how they won the tag team titles on Monday. This brings out The Rock, who quickly says, that him and Mankind while they're tag team champions, they're not really friends, doesn't think they'll ever be friends, but he does call Mankind one of the toughest son of a bitches he's ever stepped into the ring with, so there's kind of that mutual respect there. Anyways, this brings out Shane McMahon, Triple H, and Chyna. Shane says he's going to give The Rock and Mankind a second chance at a WWF title shot since they're still not a number 1 contender for Triple H's title. They had these issues going on Monday, and Shane, I think, screwed Rock and Mankind in both of those matchups. So he says they're going to face each other tonight, and the winner will face Triple H at Unforgiven for the WWE title. But also in this promo, Shane McMahon teases that Triple H will be defending the WWE title on SmackDown. Doesn't tell him who his opponent is, but he says he's going to face that bald-headed SOB so that kind of teases us, the crowd, the audience watching, that it may be Stone Cold Steve Austin. And of course, obviously, Triple H is not happy about this. And Shane McMahon immediately goes to the back, and Triple H and Chyna don't know what to think. And Triple H chases off after Shane. We have Rock and Mankind still in the ring, and they continue to banter with each other and continue to build on this Rock and Sock connection. And they're just teasing each other as they will be fighting each other later on in the evening. Next up, we have Howard Finkel and Tony Kimmel in the ring. And Finkel is challenging this guy to a tuxedo match and wanting the announcing duties to be put on the line. Tony Kimmel says he doesn't know who's put Howard Finkel up to this, but he kind of just wants him to go away. Kind of shoves him out of the way, and Tony Kimmel turns his back to him. And Finkel knocks him from behind. All of a sudden, the bell rings. So I guess we're just gonna have this match. The referee's already in the ring. Jericho's watching backstage as all of this is going on. He's loving all of it. And this is a real quick match. Tony Kimmel ends up stripping Howard Finkel of his tuxedo. Obviously wins and continues to get to keep announcing on WWE television. Real quick segment. We cut to a backstage segment with Kane and X-Pac. And X-Pac is saying how Kane needs to stay away from his match tonight. He needs to go at it alone. He wants to prove that he's not, or he needs to prove that he's tired and sick and tired of being called the weak link of the team. Kane's kind of just standing there, not really know what to do or say. So, real quick segment there as we set up for X-Pac's match, which is going to be coming up in just a bit. Next up, we have Lillian Garcia, who's interviewing Mankind. She said he's got to be conflicted about facing his tag team partner tonight as a shot at the WWE title. Mankind keeps bringing up the fact that the last time him and The Rock were in the same arena and building that he beat him. So he's kind of like just bringing that up, and again, they're just hyping up the match. This is going to be number one contenders for the WWE title. Next, we cut to a shot of Triple H and Chyna worrying about, what's going on. They're at Shane McMahon's door, and he's not answering for some reason. And Chyna says that, they got to trust Shane, and he knows what he's doing. And, again, Triple H is just huffing and puffing and worrying about who he's going to face for this championship match. Coming up next, we have Jericho in a backstage segment with Howard Finkel. And, he's trying to pump him up and get his self-confidence up, even though he just lost that tuxedo match to Tony Kimmel. Real quick there, they don't really get into too much on what their plans are. Obviously, there's still more to come with them. And next, we cut to X-Pac's match, which is actually going to be with Chris Jericho. Before this match gets underway, Ken Shamrock tries to come out and go after Chris Jericho. They're feuding right now. This is stemming from last week on SmackDown when Jericho attacked him with a chair. And this is obviously continued to spill over on Raw. And then this is where we are at this point in SmackDown. X-Pac holds Shamrock back. X-Pac is clamoring with him, saying that how he needs this match. He's trying to prove a point. And anyways, Jericho and X-Pac have this match. It's probably the best wrestling match of the night. It's pretty back and forth. One of the interesting notes on this is The Undertaker and The Big Show make their way up to the stage at the entranceway and are watching this match. And they're going back and forth. Again, like I said, this is the best wrestling match of the night. Up until The Big Show gets sent down by The Undertaker to come and attack X-Pac, which leads to disqualification. Again, this is the second matchup where Jericho's disqualified. So he's already got 2 losses on his belt in the WWE banner. But this is without getting pinned, so Jericho kind of just, doesn't really look bad in this. So Big Show continues to beat up on X-Pac. This finally brings out Kane, who comes to help out his tag team partner, beats up on the Big Show, throws him out of the ring. Big Show huffs and puffs, but then Taker just calls for Big Show to, get out of there, and, they make their way out of the arena. And X-Pac is, just frustrated with what's going on. He's kind of shoving Kane away. Actually, before Big Show and Taker leave, Taker does grab the mic and tell Kane that, he's weak by associating himself with X-Pac, and it's just going to be continuing to make him weak if he stays with him. So that's the end of that segment, and I guess they're going to continue their feud. I thought The Undertaker was going to be done already by this time, but looks like he's still going to stick around. But like I told you, he's about to take a huge hiatus, so he won't be around for much longer. We cut to a limo that's in the back, and this is one of the most dumbest things that Michael Cole has said in his entire run of WWE, and I'll tell you why. He's talking about who's going to be fighting Triple H for the WWE title. We don't know. And they're showing this limo, right? And he's like, could it be Stone Cold Steve Austin? Is Stone Cold Steve Austin in that limo? When in the world has Stone Cold Steve Austin, the character, ever shown up in a limo? I mean, he did in that monster limo, but that was a whole different thing. That's a monster limo. We're talking about a regular, like, just flashy limo. When has the character of Stone Cold Steve Austin ever just been in a limo or hiding in one? This is so stupid, and I can't believe this was something that was actually said by him. Yeah, so dumb. We finally come to Triple H's championship match. We don't know who he's fighting. Shane McMahon comes out, again, continuing to tease Triple H that it's going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin, talking about how he's going to fight that bald-headed SOB. But it turns out it's actually Gilbert, which he, for those of you that have watched in the Attitude Era, he was a guy impersonating Bill Goldberg from WCW, but he was like a scrawny, like, little white guy, and obviously just a joke character. This gets laughs from Chyna and Triple H, who should have believed Shane all along because he is the heel. I don't know why he would be setting him up. Anyways, Triple H quickly wins his matchup, beats down Gilbert with a steel chair afterwards just to show his dominance and how dastardly he is. And quick little segment here. Next up, we got probably one of the more disturbing segments we've ever had in the history of WWE. It was probably looked as comedic at the time, but if they were to do something like this now, they would have PETA all over them. So as we all know, the whole deal with Al Snow and him being like distraught because he doesn't have his puppy Pepper, right? He's just been out of it, and we had the match last week where Bossman said he would give him his dog back if he would give him the championship match, which Al Snow obliged to, but Bossman ended up lying to him. He took he wanted the belt from Snow, but still continued to keep the dog and keep him out of Al Snow's hands. But Monday on Raw, Bossman said that if he were to meet him up at a hotel for some reason, he would give him back his dog for real. So, of course, I guess Al Snow stupidly agrees to this, and this is what this segment is all about. So they're at this hotel room, right? And the big boss man is talking about how the dog's at the groomers, and he's getting his hair cut, but Al Snow's like, the dog's a Chihuahua, you idiot. Like, he barely has any hair. And the boss man says, like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Like, he's on his way. He's got like a dinner table set up there, and he's trying to offer a meal to Al Snow. And Al Snow's like, he's not even hungry. But Bossman is insisting that he eats, and whatever, Al Snow stupidly again obliges. Bossman brings out this meal, looks like it's meat or chicken or something. All right, starts putting it on the plate there for Al Snow, right? And it looks like Bossman's going to serve himself a plate too, but just teases that he's going to, but not really. And then Al Snow starts to, eat the meal. This is so dumb, but this is so awful too. So he starts to eat the meal, and the boss man's like, well, what do you think about it? And he's like, well, Al Snow's like, it's not bad. And boss man's like, try not to get a paw caught in your mouth or something like that. And then Al Snow just has this horrific feeling come over his face. And Bossman's like, yeah, that you damn right. Like, I cooked your damn dog and fed it to you. And Al Snow's disgusted and wants to puke. Rolls over to the side of one of the beds in the hotel. And, Bossman just continues to beat up on him. Feeds more of the dog to him. And then the end of the segment is Big Bossman eating some of this meat, which is supposedly the dog that he cooked. And he's like, tastes like chicken. And I'm like, This is so horrible I can't believe that this segment made air. If this was 2019, there's no way that PETA would not get involved and WWE wouldn't get in so much trouble with sponsors and all that for doing this type of segment. But this is 1999. The world was completely different back then, and you could get away with like raunchy, like just over the top, ridiculous things you can imagine for a TV 14 product. And this is, I mean, it's comedic when you're watching it, but if you're looking in hindsight of how bad this segment is from a moral standpoint, like, oh man, that was something. That's the end of that. We cut to a backstage segment of Ken Shamrock, who's still looking for Chris Jericho, and he wants to get his hands on him. Up next, we have Mankind versus The Rock in a number one contenders match for the WWE Championship. The winner will face Triple H at Unforgiven. They're having this match, and at some point, Shane McMahon makes his way down to the ring, knocks out the referee, and appoints himself as the special guest referee. This goes on for like a few seconds before Shane McMahon motions for Triple H and China to come out to beat up on The Rock and Mankind, and Shane McMahon immediately calls for the bell, a double disqualification, and Shane McMahon says that there's no number one contender, and that's just the beginning of this stupidity as this show continues to roll on. There's a shitload of Shane, Triple H, China, Mankind, and Rock in this show. We cut to right away after this to an interview with Lillian Garcia and Shane McMahon. And Shane McMahon says he just feels bad for what just happened. And Lillian's like, this is where Lillian, you start to see a little bit of her character come out. She's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you completely just screwed both of those guys. Like, how are you going to make this right? She's like, and he's like, don't worry about it. I'm going to make it right. I'm all about second chances and whatnot. But he just gave him a second chance. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. So he says he's going to make it right. And that's the end of that interview. Up next, we got Val Venus versus Ken Shamrock. Now, since Ken Shamrock has been distracted and trying to look for Chris Jericho and try to get his hands on him the whole time, Ken Shamrock does not come out in any ring gear. He's in just jeans and tennis shoes and shirtless, but he's not ready to wrestle in any ring gear. He has his match real quickly with Val Venus. It's not that good of a match. Val Venus wins because he's distracted by Steve Blackman, who comes back and he tries to attack Shamrock, but Ken Shamrock is able to lay him out. This brings out Jericho first with his music, and he comes out to the stage and starts to taunt Shamrock and tells him to follow him to the parking lot if he wants to get in a fight with him so bad. And so Shamrock immediately runs out of the ring to chase Jericho to the back. Meanwhile, you still have Steve Blackman in the ring, and he starts to beat down on Val Venus. So it looks like we're going to get the start of a little feud there. We cut immediately right away to Shamrock in the back, who comes to some person who looks like Jericho, because you see his back, and he's got like the wig, and it looks like Chris Jericho, but it's not. It turns out it's Howard Finkel, because immediately Chris Jericho attacks Shamrock from behind with a shovel, knocks him out. Jericho immediately puts Ken Shamrock in the walls of Jericho's submission move. For some reason, he wants Howard Finkel to take a picture of this, I guess just to show his dominance. And Jericho and Howard Finkel escape in a car and flee the scene. Up next, we got Triple H, China, and Shane McMahon coming out yet again. Shane McMahon's talking about how, he wants to give The Rock and Mankind another chance to continue to see who's going to be the number one contender. So he says they're going to fight again. And just to show that there's going to be no interference from Triple H and China, he's going to make himself the special guest referee, which is the dumbest fucking thing ever. Because we literally just saw this. We just saw this matchup with him as the referee and him calling out Triple H to interfere. So this makes no sense. And this episode starts to really look like it's just filler. Like they don't know what to do. So before that continues to roll out, Test comes out. And he's talking about how he wants to introduce the other owners of the WWE, which are Linda McMahon and Stephanie. So they come out, And Linda tells Shane that Mankind and The Rock are not going to be fighting against each other again, but instead are going to be teaming up to fight Triple H and Shane McMahon. And Shane McMahon loses his mind, and he's like, well, whatever. And he starts to get all crazy, and he's like, well, this is going to be for the tag team titles. And Linda says, Rock and Mankind, I'm sure as hell they'll be proud to defend their titles. And it's like, are we sure? Are we sure they'll be proud? Are we sure they'll be happy to defend their tag titles with the way Shane McMahon is just, throwing his fucking authority around and, just costing people matches and screwing people? Like, are we sure that Rock and Mankind are okay with this? Anyways, that's going to be the matchup for the main event. Triple H and Shane McMahon versus The Rock and Mankind for the WWE Tag Team titles. Up next, we get highlights of a 4-corner tag team elimination match that was on Raw. Michael Cole saying there's chaos in the tag team division because, this match, of course, there was no result, there was no winner, and that leads us to what Michael Cole says is going to be a Royal Rumble type match. So here I'm thinking it's going to be like a Battle Royal, right? No, this is a tag team turmoil match, so I don't know why he fucking says Royal Rumble. It's a tag team turmoil match. Just call it what it is. So anyways, we got the Hardcore Holly and Crash Holly up against Viscera and Mideon first. Real quickly, Hollies win. Up next, we got Draws and Prince Albert who come out. Again, the Hollies quickly pick up the win over them. Next, we got the New Brood, or for those of you that know, it's the Hardy Boys. They come out next, and they beat up Crash and Hardcore Holly. They get the win. Up next, it's the Acolytes. And again, the Acolytes quickly make... they get rid of the Hardys real quick. They win. Up next is Stevie Richards and Blue Meanie. Again, this match is just breezing by. It's like it's not even. None of these matches even went like 5 minutes each. I'll tell you that. It was like less. So up next is Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie. Stevie Richards runs in. Blue Meanie is still on the ramp trying to come down. Stevie Richards gets powerbombed immediately. The Acolytes win. The final team is Edge and Christian, who come out to a huge pop. So we're going to start to see their popularity start to grow in the next couple of months. So they're having this match with the Acolytes when out of nowhere. And I believe this is for the first time ever because I don't remember seeing any of it on Raw. The Dudley Boys from ECW interfere and cost a double disqualification. And we still don't have number one contenders for the tag team titles. And so the Dudley Boys have a quick interview in the back with Lillian Garcia talking about how they're here to make an impact in WWE and say how they're the best tag team in the world. And how quickly, that the Dudley Boys already had like music to go along with their interference for the first time ever on a WWE show. So I like that. I like that touch. It was a generic song, but I like that. And finally, we come to the main event of the evening, the WWE Tag Team title match. Triple H and Shane McMahon to challenge The Rock and Mankind. Now, there was about 10 minutes left in this show, so the match is not very long. Mankind is getting beat around for most of this match. And finally, The Rock gets the hot tag from Mankind, starts to do his stuff on Triple H and Shane McMahon. At some point, Mankind drop kicks Shane McMahon out of the ring into the table, the ring announcer's table, and chaos ensues there. And, Triple H and Rock are, trying to, get the one upper hand on each other. And then the big finish on this match is that Billy Gunn interferes. And remember at the beginning of this show, Triple H costs Billy Gunn his number one contenders match for the Intercontinental title against China. He pedigreed him in that match. So here, Billy Gunn returns the favor and hits the Famouser on Triple H. The Rock is able to pin Triple H for the 1-2-3, and The Rock and Mankind retain the tag team titles, and that closes this show. Overall, I'm going to say this is down from last week. While everything was easy to watch, there was just so much Shane McMahon bullshit that just didn't make sense here. And like I said, this started to feel like filler where they didn't know what to do. So they just kept repeating the same stuff with the same characters, even though they're all entertaining. But that whole Mankind Rock match with Shane, getting himself involved and then trying to remake the match again. It was just, I didn't like any of that. And obviously we're going to see more people get involved as we head towards Unforgiven on pay-per-view. And that's going to do it for this episode. I'm going to try to watch these and put them on Apple Podcasts and Podbean and all that for you all to listen as they're airing on this 20th anniversary. So right now this is a September 2nd show. And as I'm recording this, it's September 14th. So I'm going to try to catch up and put out an episode of Palace Off the Top Rope Presents SmackDown every week to match on the original air dates that these shows came out. I'll see if I'm able to keep up with that schedule. But anyways, that's it for my review of this episode. Thank you for joining me if you're a hardcore wrestling fan. And we'll catch you on the next episode, which should be dropping soon as I try to catch up and make these dates match up evenly. This has been Palace Off the Top Rope Presents SmackDown. See you next time.